Hey guys, Summer here with Summer Kate's Photography, doing an Edit by Pros video segment for In Beauty and Chaos. I am going to open up this raw file that Adina sent to me. Normally I would do some basic edits in Lightroom, but since this is a DNG and it's opening in Camera Raw, I'm just going to go ahead and play with it just a little bit here. So the first thing I'm going to do is the exposure actually looks a little low on their faces, but the highlights are kind of blown over on that side of his face. So I might bump the exposure just a little to get me where I want to be. And because I add a soft light layer later on, which you'll see, I'm going to put the contrast down. I am going to go ahead and I'm just going to pull these all the way down to see what it looks like. I don't even see them coming off of his face really, so okay, we'll leave that about there. I don't want to mess with shadows or blacks too much. For portraits, I'm probably going to pull the clarity down just a little for skin purposes. I'm not quite sure what I want to do with the greens yet, so I'm going to leave the vibrance alone. And what else do we have? Saturation. I don't know. I think I just want to pull it down a little bit for no particular reason. Okay. I think that's fine. And then of course, I actually should have started with white balance, but I didn't. So, looking for a sort of neutral gray area. I think this little pull back here, and see that added quite a bit of magenta, which was already there. So I think I'll pull it down just a little, and we'll recheck skin tones and everything when we get in here. So I'm going to open this. Sorry for the little rough start there. Okay, and I get this a lot when I am not working with images from ProPhoto, so I'm going to convert them to my working space. That way all the profiles match up. Okay, so normally, like I said, I work in Lightroom a little bit, and I would do my cropping in Lightroom, but we're going to do it here. So rather than doing a lot of cloning, and other Photoshop magic, I'm just going to pull this down, I think, and I really like where that puts them in the frame anyway. Maybe more like right there. Oops. Hang on. I'm just trying to get rid of the pull that we used to set our white balance with. Now they're a little too centered. I don't like that. Okay. Oops. So, okay. I like that. Maybe we'll do just a little bit of cloning. Okay. Let's see. Let's see what that looks like. Okay, I think that's pretty good. And then we can do a little bit of work up there. So let's zoom in and see what we're looking at as far, and I mentioned earlier their skin looks really shadowy, so we might bring the mid-tone curve up quite a bit. But as we're looking over here, it is not quite blown, but lots of so let's check for blown highlights first. And let me just tell you guys that everything that I'm showing you right now was taught to me by Kayla Gonzalez. She is the owner of An Infinite Moment Photography. You guys should check her out if you don't already know her and her amazing work. So let's see. So we're going to duplicate the layer, and I'm sure there's a shorter way to do everything that I do, but it's just the way I do it. So we're going to go into levels, and I always see that little guy. I just click him and he goes away. So if you put your, let's see, this is 2, okay, so we put this to 245 over here on the left side. You can see everywhere that is red is blown, and you can even change this to 240 to see further anything that's blown. So to fix that, I'm going to grab this little guy right here, our burn tool. I'm going to go back down to the background copy, and I've got my highlights, my range highlight set. And I think I was taught to do it at 1%, but I do it at 2. Okay, whoops. Let me go. Okay. So this is fine. It's set to black, and you can kind of just paint over these. And it's not so important that her hair was, you know, blown over there. It's probably just good highlights, but I'm just gonna get the skin over here. I don't know what that is, but it probably shouldn't be blown. Okay. And for time's sake, I'm not going to mess with all that. So then I just take this levels layer and I throw it away. And you can switch on and off to see the difference. Okay, so that's better. And then I know lots of people that like to keep every single one of their level layers, but I don't. Bad summer probably. I'm sure that'll come back to bite me one day. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is get into, whoops, didn't mean to add a layer. So I just did Control-Alt-D to back up. I am going to duplicate my layer. I'm gonna come into curves. I'm going to grab the little hand tool, and oh boy, yeah, our skin tones are a mess, but the first thing I'm going to do is just grab sort of like in the middle and brighten up their skin just to my eye. Okay, that looks pretty good. And when you bring that mid-tone curve up, you're going to have to give it a little S curve, so pull down on the shadows, maybe. Okay, so you can turn that off and on to see the difference there. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of magenta in their skin, but again, I'm skipping ahead. I might pull this down just a little. Okay, maybe a little more. Okay, and again, flattening. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is just give it a little contrast with a soft light layer. So I duplicated my layer. I'm going to choose soft light, and that's pretty intense. That's a soft light layer at 100%. So I'm going to bring it down. Let's see what 40% looks like. I actually like that. I think it looks pretty good. Okay, we'll leave that. And again, I'm sure there's a much faster, better way to do this than duplicating my layer over and over and flattening, but I don't know. I'm a creature of habit. Okay, so we're going to go and sharpen it up just a little bit. Actually, we're not going to sharpen. We're going to just add a little bit of clarity, but it is under Sharpen in Photoshop. Unsharp mask, and we're on another layer, and as you can see, let me get somewhere. Oh, we're freezing it. So that's off and on, off and on. You can see it just sharpens up the edges. And again, see that difference in the clarity. So I'm going to bring that down to maybe 55, and I usually here, add a mask and grab my brush and it's at 50% on normal, that's fine. And I just don't want her skin picking up all the sharp edges. Oh, am I not on the mask? What's going on? Okay. Okay, I don't know why that's not working. Anyhow, for video time's sake, let's just move on. Okay. And I think quickly I'm going to go back to curves, and I'm just kind of messing with this a little bit because I feel like I want to see just a little bit of matte in the shadows, which we have there, and we probably, again, don't want on their skin. So let me not do it too big. Okay. Actually, let's just change that to 100. So I just used my 0 key to get that to 100. I'm just getting those matte shadows off of his skin. Oops, we don't want on her skin either. Okay, let's turn that off and on and see. Yeah, I think I like that better. Okay. Just little subtle differences that add up. Okay, so I was talking about make sure I have everything done here. I was talking about the greens in the back. They look a little yellowy to me, maybe. So, again, I should duplicate my layer. And I'm going to, what do I want? Hue or saturation? Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to come over to master, and I'm going to change it to, actually I'm going to change it to yellows, and see how we can change those yellows to really kind of like a fall sort of orangey color, or like a really film kind of green color. And I really prefer the film greens, but I think for this particular edit, the more like, I don't know. What do you guys think? Yeah, I think so. And again, so you can either paint this off, or I think in this case it would be easier to do Control I and just flip the mask. And let's get a pretty wide brush here. And so we're just going to paint on, hopefully that's working. Yeah, we're just going to paint on the different hue of yellow. And I'm not being super careful here about the bridge, only because I think it's only affecting, let's see, yeah, it's only affecting those, good, okay, those greens. Okay, and again, just a subtle difference, but I am really a subtle editor, but I think the subtle differences are the ones that mean the most. Okay. All right, so let's look at skin, and then we'll do a little cloning, and then we'll probably wrap it up. Whoa! Just in case you guys wanted to know what this looked at like 1,000%. Okay, so that's at 100%. And coming in here, I see that is probably some acne we can clean up real quick. So again, we'll do this on a different layer. Let's see. For a spot this small, I like the spot healing brush tool. You can just put it right over that spot and click it, and maybe clean it up one more time. I think that looks good. Yeah. So, and we want to be careful about, excuse me. We want to be careful about not removing, you know, birthmarks or freckles or scars that we might not know about. Like this looks like a scar underneath his nose, which I'm going to leave alone, but that acne could go. So let's see if, while we're here, if there's anything else. Her skin looks pretty good to me. I don't really see anything that needs to be